Now, Tank, now.
Welcome to your doom.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
All right, thanks for tuning in. We don't tune shit anymore. It's the internet. But this is something special, something we've been wanting to do for a long time. Now, we got Alex Savant here, and he's one of the guys that actually got me into doing it a while back. Basically, the plan is to find out a little bit about him, what he's got going on. Also, like, what got you into comedy. And we wrote a couple of stupid questions. We just want to run you through it.
They're not stupid. I wrote them. They're fantastic questions.
Oh, of course.
So you want to say hi, Alex?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah,
Our pleasure. So my name is Adam Riley.
My name is Jake Bussey.
And this is the Non-Essentials Podcast. Now, I want to say I was really excited to have you be our first one, Alex. You were one of the first comics that I saw in person, at like an open mic that was like, I want to do this too. Like, it was really exciting. It was.
I believe it was the Looking Glass, right?
It was the Looking Glass, and it was the Laugh Your Glass Off open mic night that they would have, and I'll tell you, like, you stuck out to me because, for one, you're very funny.
It was good. That's why he stuck.
Yeah,
that's why he
you're
stuck
very
out.
funny.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Thank you.
But you also stuck out to me because he was doing a human flag. Now,
Yeah.
Now you can't tell under a sweatshirt, but he's a pretty svelte guy. So he's sitting there doing the entire, like, your body was like perpendicular or parallel to the ground. So
That's like my go-to party trick when I need attention. I'm just like, check this out.
yeah, no, well, I mean,
Now,
here we are gushing about you 4 years later.
Is that from something specifically in your past, or just something you discovered you could do at one point? And for listeners, he can grab a pole, a vertical pole, and become perpendicular to it while having a conversation with you. It's very emasculating. I hated it.
Yeah.
So,
And then I think a couple people are like, I could probably do that, and they're like, I can't do that.
I watched two people fail after you do it. I loved it.
I know. I saw it when I was in middle school. I was at a high school basketball game in my hometown, and I saw some dude did that, kind of showing off to me and my friends. And I was like, I'd never be able to do that. And then me and my brother ended up being able to do it in high school.
You want to describe where your hometown is at?
Winnebago, Illinois. Very small. It's not even a town, honestly. It's a village. It's not even big enough to be a town.
Very nice. Now, I since we're talking about, I saw you 4 years ago. Jake saw you about 4 years ago. How long have you been doing comedy?
About 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, it'll be
okay.
Yeah.
When was your first performance? So it was.
I think it was February 24th, 2015.
Give or take an exact date.
Yeah. Do you have the time? No,
8 o'clock.
Yeah. So what was like the deciding factor though? Like, was it? I mean, it was like, I kind of jokingly was. Did you lose a bet where your friends made you go up there, or were you like, you know what, I'm a funny guy, I want to go up there and tell some jokes?
Yeah. No.
And did you come prepared? Did you have a bit?
Yeah. No. So I've always wanted to be a comedian since as long as I knew what they were. I used to see them all the time on like Comedy Central and stuff, and I'd just be like, what the hell is this? Like, I was a kid. I was like 7 when I was watching Comedy Central, like South Park and stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to hate stand-up because I was like, it's just grown-ups talking. And then I watched one with my dad one day, and he's like, this is like, you just tell jokes. And I'm like, for money? He's like, yeah. It's like, you can just like be telling jokes and stuff? And you're like, that's a job? He's like, yeah. I was like, can I do that? He's like, yeah. And then just ever since then, I wanted to do it. And
I remember seeing that too, and it wasn't just like a little money. It was like these guys were fucking ballers too.
Like
there's
they
an
got to be on
upper
TV
echelon.
and travel and stuff. Yeah. And then, Kryptonite, which is the first place I actually did comedy. Comics of Steel, Matt Drufke used to host it in Rockford, Illinois. And I used to just call up there all the time when I was like 19, 20. Like, can I come out? And they're like, not if you're 21, not under 21. And then finally, I turned 21. I called up.
At the bit.
Yeah. Yep, and I got out there.
I mean, I think you would have been probably one of the few people who would have gotten a fake ID to just go do comedy.
How did your first one go?
Yeah. Did all the jokes land? Or?
Yeah, like as far as I remember, it went pretty well. I was very excited about it. I remember.
Do you remember your first joke?
I think one of the first jokes I told was something like, this is like 2015. This is right around the Jared thing for like Subway.
Oh, were you fucking those kids?
Yeah. So like one of my big jokes that I had prepared was like, it's tough to get laid when you look like I do because like I got a baby face, right? So it's like.
Yeah.
I look like I'm 12 years old, and the only people who want to fuck you when you're 12 are Catholic priests and Jared from Subway.
Nice.
And then that was my thing. That
No,
was my big bit.
What is your joke writing process? I mean, do you just scour the internet for perverts that want to fuck baby faces?
I mean, I do that, but that's not really for jokes. That's just that's a vigilante thing I got going on the side.
Hell yeah.
No, most of my stuff just comes from like conversations. Like talking to people. I'd make a lot of jokes at work with people, talking to friends. I write that down.
I do know that, like, at least from our experience, especially with Jake, because Jake still actively does stand up as well, that like we'll be, talking back and forth, and all of a sudden, like, oh wait, hold on, that's a good bit.
I have
and
to run and write it down.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like if you don't, you'll be like, I'll remember it, and then an hour later you're like, oh my god,
dude.
it's gone.
That's the worst
Let's
thing
hear
too.
it.
Yeah, I got it on my phone. Like I got notes on my phone.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
go to it, and like that's the worst thing in the world because that just happened to me the other day. I had this whole bit. I was like, that'd be a funny bit, and I was like, I'll write it down later. And then later I was like, I can't remember
it's
this
gone.
fucking bit. And then I remembered it in the middle of the night, and I thought I got up and wrote it down, but I didn't. And I just to this day,
It was all a dreamscape.
Well, it's
Gone.
interesting too because once in a while, like I'll write it down and then I'll come back to it and I'll be like, it wasn't. But I'm still like proud of myself for writing
it
it
feels good to
down because
write it
I'm like
down. You
good
did something.
because otherwise you have this memory where you're like, fuck, I had this great thing, but I love having it, and then you're like, no, it wasn't that good, so then I don't think about it anymore.
Yeah, I'll tell.
Yeah,
So I know that there's times where I have this like I come to this like sweet spot where I'm like, because I'll be laying in bed as well, and I'll like, I should write that down, but I don't want to like
Twilight
look at my
thoughts.
phone, and then like make me wake up more, or something. And then
Yeah.
I'll like write little notes or whatever, and I'll read it to Jake the next day. I'm like, as I'm reading it out loud, I'm like, probably should have kept that to myself. That's not funny at all.
It's just like high thoughts where you're just like, listen, there was a whole context that I didn't write down.
Sometimes those are the best though. High thoughts and
Yeah.
like that twilight thought when you're like waking up from a
Yeah.
stupor.
I would say I'm sure that you're constantly working on sets and everything. What right now is one of your favorite jokes you like to tell?
Oh, man, right now, I got one I'm trying to work on. It's sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. It's basically the whole concept is just basically like I have kids now, right? So it's like I would never commit suicide because like you just can't get the alone time to do something like that.
No, I love it.
And then I want to lead that into like, and that's where murder suicides come from, right? Because it's like working out. You got to make the time.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you tend to gravitate towards like the darker, heavier topics? I know I do. To where like
I love
the
dark.
murder suicide.
I love macabre.
I tend to
jokes.
like the stuff where you're not supposed to talk about it a little bit. That's where like because then that's like the unexamined space to me, and it can get the best hits sometimes when you just twist it. And when you get that great punchline and you just like you're excited to tell it to people. Those are my favorites.
I feel like
Yeah, I definitely like the dark stuff. I feel like I just like anything silly, whatever. But
Yeah.
I kind of lean towards the dark stuff. I don't think intentionally, but yeah, I think that's just
when
who
you
I
start
am.
hitting heavy. I mean, you got to have at least a few hecklers here or there that'll be like, that's not,
Yeah, I've had a few people that got upset during
you have
things.
some heckler stories.
Yeah, I have. So like one of my favorite ones ever was just like one time I did a joke. I don't even remember what it was. It was something about like my wife was like, you can't treat our kids like dogs. I'm like, hey, you can't hit dogs or something.
Yeah, people get mad.
Yeah, and like it was like it didn't really get a laugh, but one lady was just like, no. I was like, did you just know? She's like, no. I was like, all right, she just disapproves of that.
Yeah, they can pick their cage lock too.
Yeah.
So like,
Probably the two of the worst ones was one time a lady was yelling at me on stage, and I made the mistake of being like, you want to come up here? And like she did. She stood up there for a minute.
I heard that's like a classic.
Yeah, and I was like, that's why they say not to do that.
Yeah, I was
did
gonna
she?
say,
Did
I heard
she?
you don't ever
Did
do
it go
that.
bad for her?
No, she was fine actually. Like
That's
I just
the
kept
worst.
doing my
Oh
set.
no, she didn't.
I just kept doing my set, and then she got off, and then actually her table like came up and talked to me. They liked me. They're like, thanks for the suicide joke that you told. Like,
Yeah.
very tasteful.
We're
Just
trying
like,
to hint to Becky, like you should.
Yeah.
Oh man, I know that you sent me a picture of that earlier of her up
Yeah,
on the
very
on the stage
Karen
with
looking
you.
woman.
I feel like Jake, you should like I'll send it to you, but
Sure.
you should pop that up somewhere.
Yeah,
in the
yeah, hold your
video.
hand up. There it is.
Yeah, right
I'll
there.
pop it in.
Huzzah! Yeah. So like, and I know that you do a bit of traveling, right, for your comedy. What are some of the places you've been to, and do you have any like crazy like road stories?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much hit up the Midwest area. I've been like into Indiana, up here into Wisconsin, throughout Illinois and stuff. I did some North Carolina, a little bit of comedy out there one time.
Is there much difference in the crowds by themselves?
I would think the demographic.
I would say that Wisconsin's usually more fun than Illinois. People are probably gonna get mad about that. but
I
I feel
take
like
that, Flatlanders. Fuck
I don't
you.
know if it's because you guys like drinking so much or what, but like you guys, I feel like a little bit looser, more open to the dirty jokes.
I mean, to be fair, like if I get a couple, even sober, like I'm like a baby. Like if you jingle keys in front of me,
Yeah.
I'll start laughing.
Well,
So-
you've seen the counties, the top drunk counties in America. Like Wisconsin is undisputed. Like it is.
It's like the top 5. They were all
No,
in
it's like top
Wisconsin.
50. It's like it's the entire
they're
state
all
is lit up.
Wisconsin.
There's like 2 in Iowa that know how to be depressed like us. So
Now, being that you are from Illinois and where they have legal marijuana, you've described yourself as a bit of a weed flavor scientist.
Yeah.
Can you pontificate upon that?
So I'm an edible chef. I run a kitchen at a cannabis cultivation center. We make gummies, chocolates, tinctures, drinks, all kinds of things.
Have you guys thought about approaching the market where gummies aren't that fucking strong? Like you could take one gummy bear, put it in the whole bag. Let me eat the whole bag. Is that possible? Is there some reason that
like a
doesn't
Russian
happen?
roulette of gummy bears?
No. Like just distribute it a little bit. Like I've never eaten just one gummy bear. It's an unnatural amount of gummy bears. So it's like, like Jack Daniels would never make a bottle of liquor this big that could kill
maybe
you.
a monkey or something.
But that's what I feel like. I've been at the wrong end of the barrel of where you eat half the gummy and it's still too strong. Like that's an impractical amount of measurement. So is there a reason they don't spread it to like a whole bag?
Most like we put out a 10-pack so you can eat.
Sure.
But yeah, I honestly just don't think there's that much of a
what's
market
the
for it because
the
most
strongest
people
one?
go into the dispensary are just like, I want to get lit.
I know.
So
Yeah, I want to forget.
I'd like to, but I would like a gummy bear to equal a beer. If you could like get that sign and be like, I had 6 gummies. I had
get that. You
I had
can
a
get a-
slew of bears last night.
these sell 5. They sell like a 5 milligram gummy.
Okay, so maybe it's just maybe I'm just
Yeah,
getting
like
the
you can
strong
get
ones.
a 20-pack, 5 mil each.
Sure, I'm into that. Like, 'cause I like that because it's just like
5 still knocks me on my ass. I'm awful with that.
You gotta work up to it.
Yeah,
like,
fair enough.
that's like I'm getting better, but like
When you take painkillers for the first time, you're like loopy.
I don't even do that either. Let me ask you this: what do you get? Like, do you do unique, like upon request flavors, or just kind of like, or do you just figuring things out when you're deciding for the gummies and everything else?
Well, I mean, we're part of a bigger corporation, so we kind of got like our recipes that we use and stuff. I do get to work on R&D. That was like
Okay.
my thing in the
I was gonna
past.
say, I know for a fact when Jake worked at Pizza Hut 20 years ago, that he said that he would sit there and just experiment in the
yeah, we invented lots of pizzas. We invented that breadstick pizza.
Yeah, I've definitely had some times where we spent a lot of time doing some R&D, and like we came up with some good stuff.
I wanted to ask, like, specifically, do you get a lot of material from being in that environment?
Yeah, I do actually get a lot of good jokes from work. I think just because that's where I spend most of my time during the day. So I got like my buddies that I talk to and joke around with, and it's just like, oh, that was funny. I'll put that down in my phone notes.
Yeah. No, I do think that like my biggest victories are making my good friends laugh. Like that's definitely my demographic. If I could have a whole crowd of that exact person, it'd be the best show.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why I like riding up with comics to shows because you get like the hangout part and you get to laugh and get everybody riled up, and it's like you're warmed up when you get to the show.
That's true.
Well, like with that being said, during your drives up and whatnot, like what? Now those are jokes that do land and do successfully, especially with your buddies. But what are some jokes that haven't landed that you love? Like because I know that there's some things that I just absolutely crack up over, but then I try to tell other people about it. They're like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, I got
That's
this.
most of my jokes, but I'm curious.
I have this one joke about losing my virginity, and it's like I like it because I feel like it's creative.
Okay. Can we hear it?
Yeah, I'll tell you about it. But it's one of those. It's kind of a dirty joke. It's like potty humor, so people are like they either like it or I've been told people like, yeah, don't tell that joke at this
You can
place
talk
again.
about dicks and cunts and pussies.
So basically, the whole concept is like the first time I go to have sex, I don't know like the layout of the female vagina at all. I'm like, I don't know how many holes there are. Is there like a pee hole, a sex hole, a baby hole? Like, how does this work? So I'm like, I don't got time to study the vagina. So what I did was like, I'm just gonna close my eyes and like storm the gates and just hope for the best. And just see. I was like, I'll just see what happens.
Hey, you just plinkoed it?
Yeah, I just ran. I just charged, right? But so like I missed entirely. And she's like, ow. I was like, you goddamn right, ow.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, it wasn't because like I got like a big dick or anything. It's just that like I had accidentally gone in her butthole.
Yeah.
And
Wrong hole, asshole.
so the big creative punchline to the joke is like I don't want to be gross or whatever, but like I pulled out and it's like, have you ever baked a cake?
Yeah.
And you're like, I want to see if this cake is done baking.
You put the toothpick
So yeah, you put the toothpick in, and you're like, if it comes out clean, you're like, that cake is done. A little bit of cake batter, like 5 more minutes,
She
right?
needed 5 more minutes?
Yeah, if she was a cake, she was not done. All right, that's what she needed like 10 minutes.
And she had a big breakfast.
Oh yeah. So it's like the one
All right, so I mean,
I had to
I'm
wash
assuming
that toothpick afterwards.
before
It gets worse too. I talk about like, well, I only had the one condom, and
Oh no! Okay, keep going.
it's just like I only had the one condom, and I was like, this is my first time making sex with a lady, so I was like, I don't want to like blow it, so I just like same thing, stormed the gates, nailed it this time. And then basically she like hit me up like weeks later, like you gave me an STD. I was like, the fuck I did? Like you just need to take a shower. Like
Yeah.
And
That's
probably
the equivalent
anxiety.
That's the equivalent of wiping back to front. That's a Choco Taco. I think, right? That's the they discontinued that, but not if Alex is in town.
Yeah, no, I think it's so weird that like someone hears that and they're like, I didn't like that, and then they take a moment to go and approach you after the show, and like,
that's not. Yeah,
that's the strangest
What
thing.
kind
but
of
it's not even a true story either.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's a joke, and it's just weird. To go, I didn't like that, and then you go to talk to the chef.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, I had somebody approach me after a show, very upset one
Let's
time.
hear about it.
So it's kind of my fault. I did comedy at a rally for, it's like a fundraiser. It's called Bernie Palooza in Rockford.
Okay.
So, like I knew the crowd was gonna be kind of like on the woke side, you know, whatever.
So Bernie,
But they had like music, comedy, all kinds of
at
stuff.
Bernie's.
I was one of the comedians, obviously, and I really did like comb through my jokes. I was like, I want to make sure, like, I know I can't do certain things. I don't want to be an asshole. Like,
right?
you know, this is not the environment for it. It's not even a legit like full out comedy show, right? So like, I did my set, and 3 women came up to me after the show and told me how much they loved it, actually, and got my Facebook and everything, so I felt really good. And then one woman, who I actually yelled out during my set, sexist asshole. She was very upset because in one of my jokes I used the word bitch, and it started this whole feminist conversation where she told me, like...
You're like a full moon to a werewolf.
She's,
That bitch became a bitch.
she's like, the word bitch is equal to the word faggot. Her words, faggot, and the N-word. And I was like, okay, well, you, and like, it's like John Mulaney bit where it's like, okay, you just said 2 of 3 words. You didn't say the N-word, so obviously
Dude,
that
was
worse.
true.
Like,
Breaking Bad wouldn't be on TV.
I was like, also, I think the word you're looking for is like the C word. Like, I don't think bitch is that big of a deal.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about cunt?
Yeah.
But dude, only American chicks get upset over the word cunt. You go anywhere else in the world, they just carpet bomb it through every conversation.
Well, I can get
cunt, cunty, cunt,
and the
cunt.
thing is, man, I can get not liking a word, but the fact that you're saying you're a feminist and you're like, that word can shatter a woman and bring her to her knees. I was like, are you agreeing with like sexist assholes that women are fragile little beings?
I was like, not a
I
good
say
woman.
a certain word to a woman, they're like, oh my god, it's like, that's not feminist at all. Like you're just making yourself sound like what sexist dudes think.
That's true.
You're leaning into it?
And honestly, like I'm looking at it, like
checkmate.
you had 3 positive reviews, 1 negative. That's like the rating you want on Rotten Tomatoes. You don't want to see the 100%
That's
movie.
what
You
you
want the
say.
75. You want the people that suck to be like, I don't want to hear that.
You
That's
should
a
have
good
been like,
movie.
you know what? I just talked to 3 bitches earlier. They love
Oh, she said they were brainwashed. I was like, oh, that's convenient.
Well, speaking of brainwashing, I want to hear about a funny childhood story of yours.
Man, I don't know. We had a pretty crazy childhood. Like, best way I could describe it would be like a mixture of Malcolm in the Middle and Roseanne.
Okay.
Were you Roseanne or Malcolm?
I was Dewey, I think.
That's the smallest one.
Yeah,
the
I think
youngest
so.
one.
The weird one.
Yeah.
But we were doing terrible things all the time. And I remember one time I was like 7, my brother was 8, and our grandma had gotten us Super Soakers, and specifically this was like the new Super Soaker. It's like shoots farther than any Super Soaker ever made.
I remember the commercials.
Yeah. So my dad was out of town, so that night that we got them, we immediately filled them with gasoline.
I'll be honest with you. I was like, don't say piss. Don't say
no,
piss.
gasoline.
Oh, that's worse than piss.
Yeah, we were arsonists for sure as kids,
Yeah.
but the weird thing was we were like good at it. Like we knew the rules. Like
Dude, that's a Walking Dead weapon where you like tape the lighter at the end of it and gasoline.
we
off
were
the
like
super
stuntmen.
soaker.
But we shot these things through tiki torches and stuff, and like we destroyed the yard. And the next day, my mom was like, "What the fuck happened to the grass? It was all burnt."
Dude, I love that story. That's an
lightning
awesome
strikes.
fucking story.
So long story short, my mom made my brother go buy grass, and he had to put new grass down.
That's a good punishment too. Like it
of
fits the
course.
crime.
I
mean,
I
that's
didn't know you
what
could buy
his-
grass like in carpet.
What do you think? Oh,
Yeah.
you had to
Yeah,
roll
like
up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Some
the
sod.
local golf course is missing a few patches.
Yeah.
So 1 sibling or more?
I got 3 siblings.
Three
I'm the-
siblings.
Yep,
And
I'm the
you're the
youngest of
youngest.
4. Yep.
Okay.
So
I feel like that is I mean, I feel like the oldest sibling isn't going to be the funniest.
And
You know what I
no,
mean?
not-
I feel
no,
like the
sure.
youngest is always probably going to be the funniest.
I'm the youngest. It's a survival tactic. You got to
Right.
make the guy
My
that can
older
hit you
brother's
hard
not
laugh.
funny.
No, I get that. I saw this meme one time, and it makes me laugh every time I see it. But it's like, did you have a happy childhood, or are you funny?
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me. But now,
Well, real quick, I was gonna say, so your brother is a year older. Are you pretty? Because I come up from a family where it was like, I have an older brother, 3 years older, and we have a sister in the middle. My mom was pregnant for like 4 years. Did you have a similar
Yeah. So
kind of
we're-
spread?
So me and my oldest brother are 6 years apart, and so it's 2 years between each of us.
Okay, yeah. So like, dude, but by the time I came out, I like to joke about like, dude, the fucking printer was out of ink. I got like lines across. I had to grab my mom's calcium out of her teeth from my femur. Like it was, goddamn, Dad, give her a minute. You know?
Yeah, well, I was an accident baby too, so
Oh, me too.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was.
I think
too.
the youngest always is.
Yeah, my parents call me a blessing in
That's what I-
disguise.
I'm the
That's
only.
it.
Yeah, unless my dad just wanted to have a kid after he got laid off. You know.
Now you had mentioned earlier that you are a parent,
Yep.
and you're a stepfather.
Yes.
All right. Do you feel like you're raising some future comedians as well? I mean, are you getting bits from them?
Yeah, I definitely get bits from them, especially like my stepson is a fucking
I mean, besides
drama
your murder
queen, dude.
suicide one.
Yeah, he's such a drama queen, dude. But like, I can see him being an actor, or comedian, or something. And my daughter, she might be a serial killer. She's
Oh,
still-
that's the best. You want mean
Yeah.
daughters. I
Jake,
love it.
Jake has a mean daughter.
I love it. She's like her mom. You just
Yeah,
gotta
she's
know
not-
it loves
She's
you.
not even like mean. She's more like feral, like an
Cold.
animal.
Yeah. How old is your is it your stepson?
Yeah.
How old is he right now?
12.
12. Okay, my son will be 12 coming up here, so we're kind of in the same boat to where it's just like the drama's a bit high, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm having to push down the things said to me at your age.
Yeah, for real.
What do you mean?
Well, just kind of like I feel like a phrase that's went away that every time I would fall down and I would think I was actually hurt. I swear my dad would just come over and be like, "You gonna be okay?" And I just fuck. Or it's just like, you know, the worst one, you get low, it's like, "Stop being a pussy." You know, but he'd say it in my ear low so no one else could hear it, and I'd be like, "Yeah, fuck these feelings."
Yeah, dude, I can remember like my dad being like, "Why are you crying?" Like,
Yeah.
"Cause you're yelling."
Yeah. I know, you broke the door. It's scary.
I remember it wasn't even like a mean like, "Why are you crying?" It's like just couldn't like generally like, "Why are you crying?" Like
Yeah,
you
that's
had
the
no
best.
idea what had just happened.
True
Like,
bewilderment.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
just-
like what's going on? Like, I don't know. You just fucking yelled at me while
Yeah.
you're teaching me to drive, man.
Also, I'm 8.
Yeah.
All right. So what's a question you'd like to answer that you've never been asked?
Oh man, I don't even.
Might be a thinker.
That's like a question
Big
itself.
question right
I guess
now,
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't even know
Yeah.
how to think of what I would.
You're like 42. So
Yeah, Jesus, I don't even know
that-
how to answer that question.
we can circle back to it.
We'll
too.
circle back.
Yeah,
I have
let's
no
circle
idea.
back.
That
All
was like I'm too high for that. You can't hit me with that. That was like it's like ask like how's a towel get wetter if it dries? Like
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So if you had a comedy special, what would the title be?
so. When I was a kid, I actually made a fake CD cover for a comedy special, and I always said
Wait,
I'd
how
call
old
it
were you?
like 8.
So you've
Oh, that's
truly
awesome.
been
Oh,
wanting
yeah,
to
yeah.
do this for a long time.
Yeah, as long as I can
You
remember.
had to wait till you're 21 to cut your teeth.
Yeah, for in 5th grade for career day, like we had to dress up as a career. I just wore like a black T-shirt and I brought a monkey. And people were like, "What are you?" I was like, "I'm a comedian." They're like, "Why do you have a monkey?" I was like, "Cause I'm gonna be rich and I'm gonna buy a monkey." That was my whole fucking
You
costume.
could have also been Michael Jackson too.
Yeah, that's it.
That's true.
As Bubbles, the chimpanzee.
What was the question? Oh yeah,
comedy special.
Comedy special.
What would the title be?
So I always wanted to call, and I don't know. There's no reason for this. It was just whatever I pulled out of my head when I was a kid. Alex Savant, I'm flying a kite. That was always the big.
Perfect. I like titles like that. They're a bit ambiguous to where you're just like,
I think it's
what do you
very
mean by
ambiguous,
that?
But I
like
do
it.
think my first special will be called 5-Year Plan.
Okay.
So I think that's what I'll go with.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll circle back to that as well. So, who are your comedian idols? Which comics do you look up to the most? Like, if you were to emulate some of their mannerisms or their joke styles, or the writing, their humor, like the things that you're like, I get it, I like that guy.
I always liked like Louis C.K. was a really big one. I also like Mitch Hedberg. He was somebody I used to watch a lot. Like I remember seeing him on like Comedy Central Presents as a kid. I like John Mulaney, Bill Burr is probably one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Right now, I'd say Nate Bargatze is probably my top
He's
favorite
so-
comedian
he's so
right now.
good.
Yeah, he's just funny. He says things funny.
He's
yeah,
funny.
he just mastered. Yeah, and something that I heard one time, and I can't remember who said it, but they said, "Great comics don't say funny
Yes.
things; they say things funny."
Exactly,
and
and
Nate
he's
is fantastic with
perfect
that. Even
example.
just he's like that, like. I don't know. What,
Yeah,
you know,
like-
like he just his timing is fantastic. The other comedians that you mentioned are I love them as well, so I totally get it.
Well, it all seems like the common thread with all of them is just very clever turns, misdirection, especially with Nate. To where one thing I'm really impressed by Nate, like I don't think he swears. You know
No,
what I mean?
he's very clean.
He doesn't have to go for big air, but he brings like the same like level of funny, and I just think that's so much more impressive to see someone do it without trying to get crazy with energy, without trying to use elaborate words. But I wanted to bring that into, have you ever accidentally said anything on stage that you're like, oh, like I've said one time where I knew it was too far and I wish I could have ate the words back. Like, do you ever have those moments?
I did, yeah. This was like my first year doing comedy at an open mic. I said the N-word on stage.
Oh,
Whoops.
I did not mean to. I was doing some stupid bit about how like I have no filter. It's like the dude who's like the person in
proved
charge
it.
of my
Yeah.
words. Yeah, I did. Ironically enough, it was like the guy that's in charge of the words coming out is just like throwing packages out the back of the loading ramp. He doesn't give a shit. He's just like fuck, shit, piss, pussy, cunt, and then the N-word. And I was like, and I just like kept going, and someone's like, it slipped. I was like, it did slip. I'm so sorry.
that's nice that they knew that too. To where
Yeah.
like,
I
it
felt
didn't-
good. No one was mad. I was like, I'm sorry.
I think nowadays you'd probably get choke slammed.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, I think the heckler would be be running up on the stage. Like
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned all the comedians that you just said, besides Mitch Hedberg, are still alive. Mm-hmm. What is a famous dead comedian that you would like to tour with?
Probably Mitch Hedberg.
Would you?
Yeah. The only thing that scares me is I feel like we would both die.
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say.
like he had enough to go around.
Yeah,
I don't do drugs, but I feel like if I was like hanging out with Mitch Hedberg on tour,
yeah.
and he was like, "You want to do drugs?" I'm like, "I don't do drugs, Mitch." He's like, "You sure?" I was like, "All right, let's do drugs,
Yeah.
Mitch Hedberg."
I've heard a interview with Artie Lang where he's talking about, because he's good friends with Mitch, and like Mitch was like, "Hey, I know it's gonna kill me. I'm not gonna stop."
Yeah, he didn't
You know,
care. He
yeah,
was
I don't
just
give a fuck. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned Mitch Hedberg, because when we were talking earlier about writing jokes, all the time I think about if I'm trying to write something not funny, I'll think about that Mitch Hedberg joke where he's like, I'll have to convince myself that the joke isn't funny enough for my pen and papers on the other side of the room. Remember that?
yeah.
Yeah. Where like, that's where, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Mitch Hedberg has a bit where he's like, if my pen and paper's on the other side of the room and I'm sitting there thinking of a joke, I have to convince myself that it's
Okay.
funny enough
Yeah,
for me
yeah.
to have to get up and
worth
walk
it.
over to it.
So
That's
that's the
like me with
filter.
my phone,
It's
like
good.
in the middle of the night, like, oh.
That's
Yeah.
the problem with Mitch Hedberg. If you're like, I don't do drugs, it's like what I'm really worried about is that what I mean is I don't do drugs yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's coming.
No, that's the like, I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used
It's a
to
great
too.
joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody
I mean,
knows it.
I think if I had to pick like a modern day ish Mitch Hedberg, when it's just like one-liners that are just great, I would say probably like Dimitri Martin.
Yep.
I think is super talented, and I would also say Anthony Jelinek or Jeselnik.
Yep.
Like those guys have just mastered like just the one-line zing, like blindside, super funny.
I hate to
things.
say it almost reminds me of like I love Far Side comics, and just to me it was so impressive to use one panel to create the joke each time. It was like every other comic needed like 3 panels to set it up and to hit it, but like for some reason Far Side could convey it all with one, and that was like Mitch Hedberg to me, to where it's just like almost people that they would almost downplay him, like it's not that funny. It's like you don't know how hard that is.
Oh,
like,
dude, no.
Like you have no idea how hard.
Who says that he's not that funny?
I've come across people that are like, I don't really just
Those
get
people
it.
are
And I'm-
fucking liars. Those
Yeah.
are like people that are like, "Oh, I don't fucking like pizza." Like everybody fucking likes pizza.
Yeah. And what they're really saying is like they maybe just prefer a longer form, more of a story, and they're the exact opposite.
I want to
Yeah,
be
which is
zhuzhed.
fine.
You gotta
Yeah,
zhuzh me a bit. So I need to be wooed in my comics.
Yeah.
So I have a would you rather. Now listeners that tune into the Non-Essential podcast, we love to do would you rathers and play games and stuff like that.
Pretty horrific ones, too.
Yeah. So I thought that I wouldn't torture you too much with like some of the awful ones, but I've got a good one for you. Now, as a comedian, would you rather tour with a comedian you love, but they never laugh at any of your jokes? Or would you rather tour with a comedian you hate, but they laugh at every one of your jokes?
Ooh, that's tough because we're narcissist comedians, so like you want to be
absolutely.
laughed at, but also like that makes me think of Nico Amorosa.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
I love riding with Nico to shows and shit, but he's like a piece of shit. Like he's the worst person to.
Dude, he's the best.
He's such an asshole.
I know that we've
Like-
done stand up before. He just
Yeah.
yells when we've done like little when we've done like workshops. He just yells hack.
Get it up.
hack.
Yeah, dude. Like
Piece of shit.
I've had my phone recording a bit, like set at a mic or a show or something, and I'll just hear him whispering into it, like "give up."
Dude, he did that to me too. It's like his thing to be.
I know he's just fucking with it. Like,
I've seen him like roast a whole room, not the people in it, the room they were in.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, look at these fucking middle school ceiling tiles. Who the fuck built this place?
Yeah,
It's
dude.
like,
his daughter's mean too.
that's
Really?
great.
Yeah.
I
You
love
want
it.
that.
Yeah, mean daughters. There's
Yeah.
a trend here. No, I think that like I just was talking to Nico like within the last like month or so. I was asking him, and he said he's taking a bit of a break from comedy, and I was like, dude, you got to get back in though, man. You're great. You're so mean. He goes, thank you.
Yeah, he took it like,
it's like he wasn't
his
like,
goal.
but do you think it's funny? He's just like, yes, I am
Yeah.
mean.
it's like Monty Burns. It's just like, excellent.
Yeah. No, that's so. Do you have any advice for someone who wants to get into stand up?
Just do it. You just gotta find an open mic. It's super easy nowadays.
Yeah, there's open mics everywhere.
Yeah, there's always somewhere to go. When I got started in comedy, it was so hard to find. There weren't like Facebook groups or anything yet,
No.
so like you had
There's
to just
MySpace group.
yeah, like and then like people were kind of like gatekeepers in the beginning too. Like I would go to
Yeah.
one mic and be like, "Hey man, where can I find another mic?" And they'd be like, yeah, I don't know."
Yeah,
I'm like, "Okay, like
They don't want the
where
line.
where the fuck are you going?" Like
yeah, that's funny.
now people are so supportive. Like I
gotta
just had a
tail
guy.
Yeah.
We just had a guy come out to a show the other day, and he came up to us after and was like, "I came out here so I could meet you guys and see like how I do comedy because I really want to do it." And we were like, "Oh, we add him to Facebook groups." I was like, "Just here you go, man. Like follow this page, and you'll see where there's open mics. Just go there. Just do it."
I've seen some comics that go out, and I've seen them perform a lot, and they just don't do well, but they have the bravery to do it. And then I've also seen. I remember I was doing an open mic in Illinois. I can't remember what bar it was at, but there was a guy there with his wife. They had just gotten married, and she was like, go up there. And so he went up there and just told the story, and he killed.
Yeah.
He'd never done it before ever. He's like, I just got married today, and blah, blah. I was like, hey. And, so,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even people going like, oh, here's your sympathies. Hope you get laid later. Like people were like, he was killing it. But I've seen people like just bomb and just do terrible that do stand up all the time, So I'm just kind of curious as far as like just get out there and write.
Yeah, just get out there and do it. Just get out on
Get
a
excited
stage.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say the one thing that I've seen that would probably be a mistake is there's a open mic in Madison, Comedy on State. I've seen people do their first one there, and the thing is like even a kind of good joke, if you got 300 people in the room, that's 50 people laughing. That sounds pretty nice, and they get this like fake confidence. I actually think you should go to a small place with just a few people trying to watch like a football game. If you can get one of them to
that's
laugh
right. Yeah,
while
that's
they're
very
trying,
difficult.
that'll translate to so many more laughs up in the big room.
I think that's one of the best things about like the Rockford, and I guess even like you guys are part of the Rockford comedy scene,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to earn your laughs. Like there's we're not doing theaters, we're not doing clubs.
Yeah.
Like in the Rockford area, you're at a bar. They don't want to shut the TVs off. People don't know
Yeah.
there's comedy.
I
So
was
like
just
if you're
gonna
doing
say,
well,
yeah.
like
I think that's where it's honest. That's where like it's if it's not good, you won't get it. But if you're at a place where people are expected to laugh, they're kind of like, I'm happy to be outside. Ha
Yeah.
ha ha. It's time. The punchline makes me laugh now and then. So
No, I completely agree. I think you just got to get out there and do it,
Yeah.
and just keep going.
Yeah. And, like,
go ahead.
the main thing I would say is just remember that like you're not auditioning for anything, and like just because you have a shitty set, even like veteran comics go to a mic and have a shit set. If you're trying stuff out, like you might bomb. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Actually, the best advice I ever got was at my first open mic. I had a really good set, so I felt super good. And one of the guys I was talking to afterwards said, "Just know that
This is not
either your next one or another one, you're gonna bomb, and it's gonna suck." He's like, and then eventually you'll have a good one again. So always.
But I feel like bombs are important because those are the ones where you can be like, okay, what I had here didn't work. Why didn't it work? But if you go there and you do well, you're kind of just like, nah, I'm as cool as I thought I was.
Yeah, you learn more from bombing than you do. You learn what works. You're like, all right, well, that sucked. I need to work on
Don't
that.
say the N word accidentally.
Yeah, don't do that. That would be my biggest thing.
Oh, and
that's
also
your advice to anyone
That's
who
my
wonders.
advice. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too, record yourself and then just listen to it later. Listen to it
Yeah.
later. Don't
Oh,
judge yourself, but just record it.
No, judge yourself.
Well, I mean, it's like
Record it.
first time you listen.
Yeah. You know you're gonna suck for the first like year or two.
Yeah.
But I would say judge yourself. That's the best part about recording it is you'll notice you say stupid things repeatedly. Like I would say like man or
Yep.
Yeah.
or I kept noticing like I'd always like touch myself like here or something. It's like it's good to record yourself because if you look at it and you're like that's fucking annoying, like other people are probably annoyed too. So like knock it off.
That's great advice.
Oh, that's fantastic. Actually, like just even doing this podcast, like I was like, oh my god, I stammer so much.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I feel
so
awkward.
What are your future plans or goals for comedy?
Just to do it, man.
Keep
just
going.
just quit my job, do comedy, support my family, have my wife work from home, and then or not even work from home, just be a stay-at-home mom. I mean, and then like us, just live my life with my kids during the day, do comedy at night, and tour
do like
time to time.
Load them up on the tour bus and bring them with you.
Yep, take
Love
them on
it. That's
free
awesome.
vacations.
Do you want to tell listeners where they can find you and when and where?
You can find me on alexsavant.com, or actually, it'll just take you to my Facebook right now. The site's being built. But Alex Savant on Facebook or The High Adventures of Alex on Instagram.
Nice. You want to spell your last name too?
Savant, Savant.
And where can they find you very soon?
You can find me at the Comedy Cabin in Janesville, Wisconsin on April 13th, where I'll be headlining.
I'll be there.
Yep.
I'm excited for it too, and I'll put up like this is the website right here. It's my hand.
Yeah, if you haven't heard of the excuse me,
Get tickets. Let's get this thing sold out. It's gonna be a great night. So.
If you haven't heard of the Comedy
pumped.
Cabin, you can get away and laugh at Janesville's own comedy club featuring national touring comedians every week, and you can get your tickets at cabinlaughs.com. And this is truly speaking from experience. They sell out every week.
Yeah,
every week they have sold out shows. So don't delay. Get your tickets. That's cabinlaughs.com. And go and see Alex.
Yeah.
April 13th.
And honestly, I want to say, hey, thanks for helping us kick this off. We've been wanting to
thanks
do like a
thanks for having me
comedy
out.
spotlight.
Thank you very
thing.
much. He's actually got to go host at the Comedy Cabin right now. So, all right. Later, boners.
You met me at a very strange time in my life.